Hello, everybody, and welcome to English Grammar with Ameya sir. And as planned, we are going to study the Unit 1.5. The chapter is the necklace. This is the SSC board 9th standard Kumarbharati. And thank you for your wonderful response for the last video. And I have received entries, the homework entries via email, and some of them on WhatsApp. Thank you so much. I would probably share my email ID one more time today, or maybe leave it in the description so that those who want to share more can do so via my email. Okay, and now the lesson straight away. This lesson that we are going to do is titled The Necklace. So why is it titled The Necklace? The story revolves around this wonderful necklace. There's this picture in the textbook, and the main character here is Matilda. Now, who is Matilda? Matilda, in short, I'll tell you about her. It's the central character. Matilda was somebody who always wanted to be very important, very popular. She wanted to have a big house for herself. She wanted to live in a mansion, in a palace. She always had big dreams. But unfortunately, her parents are not so rich. She was born in a poor family, let's say middle class or lower middle class, not exactly the poverty line, but she could not fulfill or live the life. She did not get the life she wanted. And it so happened that even her marriage, she had to marry someone who was not of a noble class. She wanted some aristocrat, but then she had to um, give up some of her dreams. And so this is always something that is there in her mind, that I don't have a big mansion, I don't have a lot of jewelry, there's not a lot of luxury in my life. And then how does the lesson get the title The Necklace? It so happened that Matilda once got an invitation to attend a grand ceremony, and she was worried about how to get ready for that occasion, because she didn't have even a proper dress to wear for the occasion. So it was decided that her husband would give her about 400 francs. That's the currency, the then currency of France. I believe now it's euro. After 2002 it became euro. So her husband would give 400 francs to get a new dress. But then the problem still remained. What about jewelry? She had nothing. She had no jewels. So she said, I better not go. I'd rather not go. Then she decided that she would probably visit one of her friends, and her friend actually gave her this necklace that you see here in the title. Let me pull up the title one more time. Yeah, this is the necklace. Okay, and then after that, whatever happens, the story, I'm not going to reveal too much because we don't want to kill the fun, obviously. So whatever happens revolves around that necklace, and therefore the title The Necklace. It's one of my favorite lessons in the 9th standard. You will surely enjoy this. It's a beautiful lesson. There are nice grammar entries, there is good vocabulary, there will be some homework. This lesson in the textbook is divided into two parts, part 1 and part 2. We will not finish the entire lesson in one lecture. I don't think so. We will divide it, go slowly, but then make sure that we understand everything that there is, every important little bit here and there. Of course, I'll give my special tips as well, because there are a few entries that need further clarification. I hope now the summary is in a nutshell. I told you what this lesson is about. I have not revealed too much to retain that element of interest. Let's get started with it straight away. I want you to have your notepad ready. Your textbook also should be ready. If not, you can pause the video now and only resume it once you have your notepad and your textbook ready. When I read it, as usual, I would expect your undivided attention. Don't do anything whilst I am teaching, okay? Or at least when I'm reading something. So this is Unit 1.5, 9th Standard State Board, The Necklace. Let's start. Matilda, I told you the name Matilda, she's the central character. It's a story in France. Matilda was a pretty and charming girl, born as if by an error of fate into a family of clerks. She had no means of becoming known, understood, loved, or be wedded to an aristocrat, and so she let herself be married to a minor official at the Ministry of Education. Guys, the lesson itself makes it very clear right from the first paragraph that Matilda is not very happy or delighted with the life she's been blessed with. She was pretty, she was charming, but she always wanted aristocracy. But she was married to a minor official, so of course the lifestyle was not quite what she wanted, and that is why there was always an element of unhappiness in her all the time. Okay, let us study more. Fate is destiny, by the way. This word fate is not F-A-I-T-H, guys. Okay, not F-A-I-T-H. This is fate, which means destiny or luck. Aristocrat is a member of a noble class. Remember, again, there is a difference if you say N-O-B-L-E and N-O-B-E-L. That's for the Nobel Prize. Okay, this one is noble, N-O-B-L-E. What else? This is a grammar entry. Matilda was a pretty and charming girl. Use not only but also. Matilda was not only a pretty but also a charming girl. Very important for you to understand that you do not write Matilda not only was. That's not the way to do it. The correct way to do it is Matilda was not only a pretty but also a charming girl. Whatever is common is always placed first. So since was is common, was is placed before not only. And that is a very important point for you to understand here. What else can you have here? There is another not only but also entry. In fact, this one is make affirmative. So just cancel this and make this as affirmative. Okay. This is not only but also. This entry is for making it affirmative, guys. Affirmative. She had no means of becoming known. She hardly had any means of becoming known. So this one is make affirmative and make the necessary changes. Alright, I will concede the couple of minutes as usual. 2 minutes for you to jot down everything that you see here. The time starts now. Guys, if you see, I have made the necessary correction. Apologies. Okay, now you have final 5 seconds left and then we shall continue. Okay, your time is up and I'm sure that you are done with everything that was required. Okay, so now what happens later? Let me again start reading it. When I read it, guys, make sure that you do nothing else but listen to me. I believe that the story is clear to you so far. We are talking about Matilda. She was married to a minor official. She wanted great life, but has to settle for a life less than what she wanted. Okay, let's continue the story. Okay, what do we have here? She dressed plainly because she had never been able to afford anything better. She suffered endlessly, feeling she was entitled to all the luxuries of life. She suffered because of a shabby, poorly furnished house. All these things that another woman of her class would not even have noticed tormented her and made her resentful. She dreamed of a grand palatial mansion with vast rooms and inviting smaller rooms, perfumed for afternoon chats with close friends. Guys, this part actually makes it so abundantly clear of her unhappiness. One thing is for sure here, it's up to us what we make of our lives. We have contentment. You must have that feeling of content in your heart, that you have what you have. Yes, you should try to make progress, but don't be resentful, don't be sad. Be happy with what you're blessed with. But Matilda, she didn't come to terms with that. She always wanted luxury. She wanted a palace. She wanted even separate rooms, perfumed smaller rooms for chats in the afternoon with close friends. Can you imagine? Okay, it's one thing to have a dream, that is welcome, but then whatever you have, aren't you going to enjoy what you have, or stay in unhappiness or and only sulk about things that you don't have? You cannot create unhappiness. But Matilda was not that kind of a character. She always wanted big things. She always thought, my house is small, I have no grand clothes or royal clothes to wear. She always used to grumble. She was not so happy with what she had. And the lesson makes it abundantly clear that the girls who lived in the same class as that of Matilda, they didn't even notice such things. They were quite happy. They were quite content with their lives, but not Matilda, because she was unhappy. She wanted something more. Okay? I repeat, wanting things is good. Make a conscious effort to achieve those things, but at the end of the day, be happy with what you have. And otherwise, you'll kill the happiness in your life. Be happy with what you have. Make efforts to become somebody big. Why not? Hello, those are called dreams. Do that. But be happy at the end of the day with what you're blessed with. Okay? So let's continue with what we can learn from this. We have got the grammar entries and vocabulary entries. First one is shabby. Worn out or dilapidated. I'm sure that this word could be new for you, most of you. Dilapidated, shabby, worn out. The next entry is tormented, severe physical or mental suffering. So because of her poverty, because she did not have luxuries, the lesson says that she felt tormented. She could feel the torture, severe physical and mental suffering she underwent. Okay, resentful, having bitterness. As if you don't have things that you yearn for, there are chances that you have resentment in your heart. Never should you live with revenge or resentment in your heart. Very important. The word is resentful, and the S makes the Z sound. That is another thing, guys, which I would like you to observe. The S sometimes makes the Z sound. Sometimes it is plain simple S, but sometimes the S makes the Z sound. For example, president. The president is the Z sound. You cannot say president. It's president. The residence, houses, is the Z sound here. Similarly, you have it over here. What else? You have more entries. Palatial, related to palace. So that's the adjective form. Related to a palace or spacious. She wanted a spacious mansion. The word here is mansion. Guys, it's not mention. It is not mention. The word is mansion. I hope you would realize that. Grammar entry. She suffered endlessly. Rewrite using end. She suffered without any end. She suffered endlessly. This is the adverb form because of this ly you see here. So she suffered endlessly. She suffered without any end. Nice. Absolutely beautiful. Now we are again going to wait for 2 minutes so that you have time to jot down everything. Your time starts now. Please make proper notes. That is why I'm conceding a couple of minutes after every slide. Please be particular. Make proper notes, guys. Okay, 10 more seconds. And your time is up. By the way, before we proceed to the next one, I want you to understand the meaning of the word entitled as well. Might be new, okay? Feeling she was entitled to all the luxuries means she always thought that she was worthy of things. I repeat, she always thought that she was worthy of all the riches, glory and luxury. She thought she was entitled to it, but she did not get it. That is why she had resentful nature. She had bitterness in her heart. Let's carry the story forward now. What happens? Again, when I read, do not do anything else. Pay proper attention, undivided attention. Yet she had no rich dresses, no jewels, nothing. And these were the only things she loved. She wanted so much to charm, to be envied, to be sought after. She had a rich friend, a former schoolmate at the convent, whom she avoided visiting because afterwards she would weep with regret, despair, and misery. Oh, so sad, guys, so sad. She had what? She had nothing. She had no rich dress. She had no jewels. She had nothing. Now, I believe that this is an example of hyperbole here. The writer says she had nothing. Well, that was not true. She survived. But the point is that she did not really want what she had. She wanted more than that. She had no nice dresses to wear. She had no jewelry. She had no big mansion to stay. Okay, those are the things she wanted, and that's why the writer says she had nothing. But I believe that's hyperbole. Now, one more thing I want to share with you youngsters, 9th standard, right age to learn all these fantastic things. The happiness does not come from materials. Happiness is not purchased. Happiness comes from the state of mind. If you are happy at heart, then you are just happy. There is nothing that can make you unhappy if you are happy at heart. But if you are unhappy, then regardless of what surrounds you, you will be unhappy. A big thing to remember for all your life. Okay? Such lessons teach you great things, and this lesson also has a moral. I won't reveal it right now. We will deal with it when we bring the lesson to a climax. However, at this point of time, I want to share this. Remember what I said. Happiness is a state of mind. You can call mind here, or maybe at heart here, somewhere there. It's all in your mind. If you're happy, well, you are happy with what you have. If you're unhappy, then you might have 10 things you cannot be happy. Again, I'm not discouraging you from making conscious efforts to achieve things. Why not? Take the efforts, do what is necessary, accomplish your goals and objectives. But at the end of the day, shouldn't you be happy with what you have? Else there is no point in acquiring things if you have no moment to appreciate what you have. Don't miss out on that. Okay, Matilda always was resentful. I don't have dresses, I don't have jewelry, I don't have a big house, and my life is so mediocre. That's the word, by the way, mediocre. She was not happy with her average life. You should be happy. There are 10 people, always remember, at least, who will be ready to fill your shoes. By fill your shoes, not necessarily means only getting your shoes, leading the life that you are leading right now. So be happy. Happiness is a state of mind. If you are happy, you are happy, regardless of everything or regardless of nothing, whatever. Let's proceed. Now, the lesson states that she used to avoided her convent friend, schoolmate, because later she would weep. That means she would cry or shed tears with regret, despair, and misery. I'm sure there are a lot of figures of speech involved, guys. This lesson is written in a very nice manner. First entry for figures of speech: no rich dresses, no jewels. You'd see that the word no is repeated for a better impact. And I would also go ahead and say that this is hyperbole. I've already told you that. By the way, when I say hyperbole, the spelling is Hyperbole, but it is not hyperbole. It's hyperbole. That's how you say it. Burly, hyperbole. So I could say that this with some guarantee that this is hyperbole, because it's not that she didn't have anything at all, but she was not happy with what she had. Next is to charm, to be envied, to be sought after. Well, you could treat it as repetition, but there is something more important than repetition here. It is climax. To charm, to be envied, to be sought after. See, it has an ascending thing here. It goes one after the other in an increasing order. That's why you say it is climax. If it has to come down, then it's the descending order. It becomes the anticlimax. This lesson will actually teach you another important thing, guys. There is always a doubt that the students have. Sir, how do you know it's ascending or descending? Normally, students just make out by the way the teacher reads it. I am going to tell you that there is a definite difference between climax and anticlimax, and how you can find out. Okay, this lesson will have examples of both. So once we come to an example of anticlimax, I will deliberate on this and will tell you how to identify whether it is climax or anticlimax. This is a very important thing that even scholars sometimes fail to grasp. Okay, back to the lesson then. Are there more entries? Yes, they are. Now this one I'm going to take you to the notepad. Adjective clause: whom she avoided visiting, and the role of commas is what we want to learn. So let's get to the notepad. I'm ready with my notepad. You would see here, do nothing else but pay attention. The role of commas. Consider these examples, okay? The first one is, my brother Anil was late from school. Okay, he was late from school. And consider example number 2 as, my brother Anil was late from school. Okay, so if you are wondering what is the difference, just the commas? Well, there is difference in the meaning as well. Pay proper attention. In the first line, you had commas that split the information, Anil. The second one, there was absolutely no comma. There is a difference. If you split this with comma, it means that that information can be overlooked. I repeat, what did I just say? That information can be overlooked because it is obvious. So when can it be obvious? Imagine I have only a single brother, okay, no other siblings, just a brother, and he is Anil. So if I say my brother, comma, Anil, comma, was late from school, that is unnecessary to mention because I have just one brother. So what was the need to mention that? That is when you put the comma. When the reader can overlook that because it is implied. If I say my brother, he is Anil. I hope you're getting what I'm saying. Let's go back to the second example. How did that look, guys? In the second example, there was no comma that split the information. Notice this, there is no comma. So what does that mean now? Now this means that I could have more than one siblings. And so out of the all the brothers that I have, how do I know which brother was late from school? Then the information Anil becomes important. So I have to say my brother Anil was late from school. Guys, I'm sure you're getting a hang of this. If that information was implied, my brother, okay, my brother is Anil, then there was no need. Then I should put it in comma so that the readers can just neglect that. But out of the many brothers, who was late? Anil was late. Okay, then Anil should not be mentioned in comma. I hope that I was able to add something to your knowledge. So the comma enables the reader to just skip the information because it's quite obvious. Get back to the story. We have got plenty to study on the slide. So that's why I took you to the notepad for the role of comma. By the way, the spelling of comma is also very important. C-O-M-M-A is a comma. If you write the spelling of comma as C-O-M-A, that's coma. That's where your English teacher will be found in an ICU if you make that spelling. C-O-M-A is coma, a critical condition for a patient, and the punctuation mark is spelled C-O-M-M-A, comma. Please remember that. Now this one, regret, despair, misery. This is anticlimax. The words are arranged in a descending order, guys. Ascending order was climax. Look at this one, guys. Ascending order is climax and descending order is anticlimax. And I promised you that I will share more examples with you so that you, after this lecture, surely know whether it is climax or anticlimax. Let's talk about it. Climax, first of all, is something that is in the increasing order or magnitude. Secondly, climax is something that is positive. Anticlimax is something that is in the diminishing value, the decreasing order, and also something that is negative. Examples? Sure. For example, if I say, she worked hard and achieved name, fame, and glory. What did I just say? She worked very hard and so she earned name, fame, and glory. So aren't things going upwards? Surely. Isn't it positive? Surely. Climax. So then what is anticlimax? Observe the other way around. Due to gambling, he lost everything. Name, fame, and glory. What did I just say? Due to gambling, he lost everything. Name, fame, and glory. So he lost this, he lost that, he lost everything. It is definitely coming down. Now as a student, I'm sure you love these examples. One more. I also said increasing order of the magnitude. So let us say, the king was mighty and he expanded his kingdom from city to towns to countries to continents. Increasing order of magnitude, climax. Okay, if it is a decreasing value, then it is definitely anticlimax, especially if it leads to something negative, one after the other. So look at the examples here now to understand this one final time. Okay. So the example was on this slide here. She would weep with what three things? She would weep with regret, she would weep with despair, and she would weep with misery. One after the other it's coming down. And what did she want in life? She wanted to be charmed. She wanted to be envied by others of how rich she was. She wanted to be sought after. By the way, sought after, I'm sure you've heard of this. Sought is the past tense of seek. You want something, you seek something. Hide and seek, right? Not sick. Seek, S-E-E-K. Sought is the past tense of seek. So she wanted people to seek her. She wanted to be wanted. She wanted people to envy her because how rich she is. Look at her jewelry. Girls normally have that fantasy for jewelry. There are very few girls who would probably be okay not having jewelry. They're very simple and very modest girls, but rare. So Matilda was not one of them. Matilda wanted to be envied. Matilda wanted to be sought after, and she did not get that from the life she had. Are we done with this slide? Yes, we are done with this. And so I'm going to start with your countdown timer, and your countdown timer begins now. I'll see you. I'll rather join you in a couple of minutes. Okay, final 10 seconds. And your time is up. All right, guys, I also, I'm sure that you want to copy that example with the comma about my brother Anil, okay? All the characters are fictitious. I don't have a brother whose name is Anil. All the characters are fictitious. But a good example nonetheless, if you are still wondering about it. So please copy this. I'll pull up the notepad. Here we go. And please copy this example. I won't have a separate countdown for this. Just make sure that you copy this, guys. Be quick. Take not more than about 10 seconds. Just jot down fast. The line is absolutely the same. It's just that you will put commas. And in the second one, you won't. That's it. And we are now going to get back to our lesson. Again, I'm about to start reading it. So I would want you to do nothing else but to pay attention. One evening, her husband came home with an air of triumph, holding a large envelope in his hand. "Look," he said, "here's something for you." She tore open the paper and drew out a card on which was printed the words, "The Minister of Education and Madame Georges Ramponneau requests the pleasure of Monsieur and Madame Loisel's company at the ministry on the evening of Monday, January 18th. Now, there are many things to study here, guys. First of all, the French here. I would want you to remember that this is envelope, large envelope. However, when you use the verb form, it becomes envelope. So you envelop something, but what it is an envelope. Okay? Feeling of triumph. I'm sure that's the first word. Yes. Feeling of triumph is feeling of a great victory, success, or achievement. Please bear in mind the spelling of achievement. ACHIEVEMENT. That is the meaning of triumph. So her husband, let me explain this to you before we go any further. Her husband came home with a feeling of triumph, and he showed her, look, here is an invitation. And on the card was written that you are invited, the Ministry of Education, for a function on a particular date. Now, the husband here had thought that my wife, Matilda, would be so happy. She'd be so happy that we are invited. Do you think she would be happy? Now, I've told you about the character Matilda. She won't be happy because she will wonder, well, yes, fine, good that we have the invitation, but what am I going to wear? I don't have a good dress. I don't have jewelry that will go, because all the people will come fully dressed up for the occasion, and I don't have any of it. So the invitation was a good thing, but Matilda somehow was not as happy, as delighted as her husband had hoped. And there are a lot of French things. Envelope is the first, and the other thing to study here is the M, which is for Monsieur over here, and MME for Madame. That's the abbreviation, guys. The M is for Monsieur and the MME is for Madame. Like you have MR for Mr. and MRS for Mrs. in English. In French, it is M and MME. Let's go back to our PPT. Okay, the grammar entry here. Change the voice. Now pay proper attention. The question is, she tore open the paper and drew out a card. Change the voice. You look at the action word. The action word is open. So you start after that. What do? You look at the verb and you start after that. So you start with, she tore the paper. The paper was torn and a card was drawn out by her. You complete both the things. The past participle, tear, tore and torn. Draw, drew and drawn. The paper was torn and a card was drawn out by her. I'm sure you enjoyed that example. I told you, M is for Monsieur. Monsieur is French for Mr. and Madame. That's how you write M and MME. Anyone here with some knowledge of French will understand this even better if you adopted for French. Now, one thing is for sure I want to talk about is the way of writing date. So look at this, January 18, and by the way, it's January. It's not January. It isn't January. It is January. Okay? I want to share something. My nephew, who is just 3 or 4 years, always messes it up. See, he cannot say the R very clearly. So when he is asked to say the months, he says Janewali, Fulwali, which is January, February. But the way the kiddo says it is Janewali, Fulwali. So it's not January, it's January, February. That's how, and it's not October. That's another month people mess up. And why I don't like is it's because that's my birth month. It's not October, it is October. Not, there's no M there. People say that. They think September, the next month is October. It's not like that. Anyway, January and the date. January 18, and the way, there are two ways, and this will help you in letter writing as well. So again, I've made a note that we should go to the notepad for this. Let me take you to the notepad for the further details. We studied about this example earlier, and now on to the example of how to write date. January, let's take the example let's consider tomorrow's date. Okay, so June 16, 2020, that's tomorrow's date, and so you could write it in this way. That's the first way of writing the date. Oh, by the way, talking of June 16, oh, I wonder, is June 16, isn't that birthday of my favorite singer Arya Ambekar? Well, yes, sure. Happy birthday in advance. All right, so June 16, 2020, the first way you write it is this. And the next way you write it, which is acceptable, is 16th June 2020. By the way, you can write June. The only problem with the second one here is with the TH. Guys, this is very important observation. The TH. What happens with the TH is there's still a dispute. That's why the first method that I mentioned is the better one. I write the date that way. In the TH thing, the doubt is whether to write TH as an exponential entity 16th or to write it alongside the way it came here in the notepad. Let me show you again. The way it was written here. There's always this thing. And also, there's another confusion that students then have. There is TH, there is ND, there is RD. So there is a lot to choose. There are 4 of them to choose from. And that makes a mess. So the best way, in my opinion, is the first one, the way I showed you in the notepad. Let's go back. And the first one, this one, let's call it number. This is the first one, and let's say this is the second one. So this one is what I strongly recommend, and I write the date this way. However, if you write it this way, it is not wrong. I just simply like the way the first one is written. Okay, that's it. Let's go back to our PPT. So is there anything else to study here apart from that? No, nothing. So I am going to start your countdown timer. You get a couple of minutes for this. And then I will give you about 10 seconds to jot down the date from the notepad. Almost a minute more, guys. Final 10 seconds. And your time is up. Okay, and let us now go to the notepad very quickly, guys. Please write down the dates. Both the formats are correct. However, I prefer it the way it's written. The number 1, that is the first entry. I write the date that way. I don't think there is any countdown needed for this. I'm sure you have jotted it down. That's it. Let us proceed to the next slide. As usual, stop doing your work and give me your 100% undivided attention. Let's carry the story forward. Instead of being delighted as her husband had hoped, She threw the invitation on the table resentfully and muttered, "What do you want me to do with that? And what do you expect me to wear if I go?" Now clearly guys, you would see that she's so unhappy. And I had told you that in the previous explanation that she was not as happy as her husband had thought. She's clearly resentful and she is questioning him, "What do you want me to do with this invitation? And what do I wear if I have to go for such a grand occasion? I'm supposed to wear something good, is it not?" So she's clearly unhappy. Okay, let us see what we can study here as far as grammar is concerned. I think there will be change the voice, but first you have this vocabulary muttered, which means grumble in a very low voice. Grumble, very low voice. You complain in a very low voice. And resentfully is with indignation. I want you to learn this word, guys. Indignation. With indignation, annoyance, and with bitterness. Resentfully. So we studied the word resent, and resentfully with the ly is the adverb form. So how did she say it? She said it resentfully. And as expected, yes, there is this change the voice. She threw the invitation on the table resentfully. Change the voice. The action is threw. So always start after the action word. So the invitation was thrown on the table resentfully by her. Guys, always put this by part at the end. Please remember to do that. Never put this by part in the at the front. Always let it be at the end, because here the doer is not important because it is the passive voice. I'm sure you've all watched that video on change the voice that I have handled in detail. I took an hour lecture. It's there on our channel for change the voice. Every scenario for change the voice has been dealt there. So the action word, you start after the action word, put the by part at the end. One caution: thrown is the past participle of throw, spelled Thrown. Throne, throne is the seat, the royal seat where the king or the emperor sits. So don't be confused. Those are homophones. Same sound, but they are different. Okay, Thrown and Throne. Let's carry this forward. Is there anything else to study in this slide? Yes. What an important entry, guys. This is so important. These words are so confusing. Let's deal with them one by one. The one you have in the text is expect. What do you mean by that? Assume or suppose or anticipate that is likely to happen. Expect. The next one is accept. That means not including, other than. Accept. The third one is accept. That means approve, agree, or give consent. And the last one is aspect, which means a feature, a quality, or a factor. I'm going to say those 4 words and I'm going to say them one by one. I want you to give me your attention because I'll come on cam for this. It's a very important thing, guys. Very important thing. I'll say all the 4 words one after the other and notice the difference in the sound, the pronunciation. Expect, then you have accept, then you have accept, and then you have aspect, one of the factors. One more time and we'll continue. Expect, accept, accept, and aspect. They are different. You can try the sounds as many times as you want. Back to what we were doing, and I don't think there's anything more. Yes, that's it. So I'm going to start your countdown timer for a couple of minutes, and I'll join you after the end of these 2 minutes. Enjoy the music. Final 10 seconds. And your time is up, and I'm sure that you are done with what was required. And let us proceed with the lesson. As usual, I am now going to read, so stop doing everything else. He hadn't thought of that. He stammered, "Why, the dress you go to the theater in? It seems very nice to me." He stopped, stunned, distressed to see his wife crying. He stuttered, What's the matter? Let's see, Matilda. How much would a suitable dress cost?" I love the gesture of the husband here. You would also appreciate him so much, is it not? He is fully aware that, hey, I gave such a nice invitation to this party that we both are invited, and I thought you would be happy, but I can see that you're crying here. So, Matilda, what is it that I can do for you? And lastly, he puts a very nice question. He is asking her, how much would a suitable dress cost? Tell me that. If I can, I'll do whatever is in my capacity. It's an amazing gesture. A loving, caring husband. He wants to know why she's crying. I thought you'd be happy that there's this invitation we have. Clearly, he is speaking with a fumble. There are two words that show fumble. What are the two words, guys? Notice this. First, he stammered, and the next one is he was speaking with a stutter. I'm sure we'll study that, but first, let's understand their meaning. They both mean the same, and that's why you have this lined up together. Talked with continued repetition of words. Let's talk with a slight hesitation. Okay? Slight hesitation. That's called stammer or stutter. And if I'm not wrong, last time itself, in the last lecture, we considered Hrithik Roshan's example when I gave you that beautiful homework, a very interesting homework. And here we are. So see how knowledge always builds up. So there's something always there that relates. And if you connect the dots, then you have a lot of things over a period of time. Next one, anticlimax. Hey, again, the discussion that we just had. Now look at this. He stopped, right? He stopped, stunned, distressed. And that's clearly negative emotion, so it's anticlimax. Is there anything else? Nothing more. Guys, for this one, is it okay if I just concede a minute? I think it's okay. I'll concede a minute for this. Not more than that, guys. Come on, because there is not much to write here. Let's start. Just a minute. Enjoy the music. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so the time is up, and let's proceed quickly to the next slide. Again, I'm going to read this, so make sure that you are giving me your undivided attention. She thought for a moment, computing the cost and also wondering what amount she could ask for without an immediate refusal. At last she answered hesitantly, "I don't know exactly, but I think I could do it with 400 francs. And we did talk about this word at the introduction stage itself. Guys, the first line is so important. She did not want to get rejected immediately. So she computed what is the kind of money that I could ask my husband for in order not to get rejected immediately. If you would have asked for an amount which is way beyond what her husband could afford, then she was definitely going to get no for an answer. She did not want to take no for an answer, and so she calculated like what would be the amount which was okay to ask. Finally, she came up with the answer and she said, I can manage in 400 francs. So if you give me 400 francs, then I can manage the dress, and maybe I could contemplate going to the or attending the party. Let's get back to what we can study from this slide here. Francs is of course the old monetary unit. I told you that, not just of France, even France, if I'm not wrong, Switzerland, Luxembourg, there are countries that used to have franc as their currency, but I believe that in 2002 euro replaced it. You can Wikipedia this, leave it in the comment section if I have said something that is not right. I believe it was 2002 when euro replaced francs. That's it, guys, nothing else. So I'm not even going to give you a minute for this. We can just simply proceed to the next slide. I'm reading it, so pay attention. He turned a little pale because he had been saving that exact amount, 400 francs, okay, to buy a gun for a hunting summer in the country near Nanterre. I think this is the way it is pronounced. It's a proper noun. Beg your pardon if I am doing it incorrectly. With a few friends. However, he said, very well, I can give you 400 francs, but try to get a really beautiful dress. So husband here, again I will say this, that I think is very loving in nature. He's such a good husband. He had saved that exact amount for getting his hunting gun. Okay, then hunting is okay. Maybe in some countries hunting is still okay. So he had saved that exact amount, approximately 400 francs, and he had to now give it to his wife because she should have a good dress in order to attend the party, and he did it. That's why I'll again say that the character here, Matilda's husband, is quite loving, a loving husband. And so he said, okay, nice, good calculation on Matilda's part, and I'll give you that amount that you've asked for, 400 francs, but make sure that you get a lovely dress. Let us see if you have enough to study here, so that I can give you a countdown timer for this one. Pale, what is the meaning of that? To lose color on the face as a result of three things: shock, fear, or ill health. I repeat, when you lose color on your face due to these three things, what? Due to shock, due to fear, you're afraid of something, or due to ill health, then it said that you are looking a little pale. Mind you, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water is different. That is P-A-I-L. This is P-A-L-E. For the second time, I'm giving you an example of a homophone today. Quickly tell me, what was the previous one we discussed? Come on. T-H-R-O-W-N, throne, and T-H-R-O-N-E, throne. The seat for the king. Told you that. Anyway, you thought I wouldn't remember that. Okay, but I hope you were able to answer that. Is there anything else on the slide before I start the countdown timer? Let's find out. Yes, there's a beautiful modal auxiliary to study. I can, Matilda's husband is saying, I can give you 400 francs. So what is the modal auxiliary here? Can. And what does it suggest? It's a modal auxiliary. It's not model, okay? Modal. Modal auxiliary of ability. I can. It is my ability to give you 400 francs. Modal auxiliary of ability. That's it, guys. So for this one as well, it is okay that I don't give you any time at all. You can just probably pause the video and continue. Okay. I will for the moment just go to the next one. The day of the party drew near and Madame Loisel seemed sad, restless, anxious, though her dress was ready. And why do you think, guys, that was? Because the dress was ready, but the jewelry isn't. One evening, her husband said to her, "What's the matter? You have been acting strange these last 3 days." Guys, this will be the last slide that we will study for today, okay? This will be the last slide we will study for today's lecture, and then in the next lecture, we will continue from here. Let's get back. There are a lot of things to study. The first one is sad, restless, anxious. Again, a very good example of anticlimax is simply going down one after the other. Next one is a direct indirect question. Her husband said to her, comma, inverted commas open, what is the matter? You have been acting strange these last 3 days, okay? Her husband asked her what the matter was and added that she had been. Guys, you have been over here has been changed to had been acting strange those last 3 days. Last 3 days, those last 3 days. Beautiful indeed. We won't go to the next slide. This is where I will actually end the lecture, and you can pause the video to write it more, but I will bring this to a climax. It was beautiful presenting this first part of this lovely chapter, and it's about Matilda. Watch how the story will unfold. We are getting to the part necklace. So far we have seen that Matilda is a character who is unhappy with the life that she currently has. I have told you that happiness is just the state of mind. If you are happy, you are happy. Material things don't bring happiness. If you are happy, you are happy. That does not mean you should not take any efforts. You should take efforts to achieve whatever your objectives. But at the end of the day, you should be happy with what you have acquired and what you are blessed with. That was the thing. We will stop for now. And yes, I have already wished my favorite singer happy birthday. And we will meet the next time. And that will be the part number 2 for this lesson. Up until that time, take care. Stay home. Don't venture out unnecessarily during these COVID-19 times. I will see you soon.